Hello everyone, my name is Monica Valderas. I am a senior at Abraham Baldwin Agriculture College. Today I'll be presenting my presentation on selenium deficiency in goats for my nutrition and metabolism class. Introduction. So selenium is an essential trace mineral that is needed in an animal's diet. Selenium is also critical for disease prevention and infertility. And white muscle disease, which is one manifestation of selenium deficiency, has increasingly affected goats according to Gupta and Gupta. And selenium supplementation is therefore needed to help these goats that are dealing with selenium deficiency problems. However, selenium supplementation is costly, and it has led small-scale farmers to find an alternative form of needed selenium supplementation. Selenium is an essential nutrient in humans and in other animals, and despite the fact that the essentiality of selenium for vascular plants is still under debate, it is still considered a very useful nutrient for many plant species, potentially for better oxidative stress resistance. Selenium and iodine are an integral part of different proteins and enzymes that are involved in important metabolic and antioxidant processes. These minerals are also vital for the function of the thyroid gland. The combination of inorganic iodine and selenium at the level at 0.6 milligrams per kilogram dry matter enhanced growth performance of goats, according to this study. Selenium deficiency due to temperature. A study was conducted and mapping techniques centered on selenium levels, forage, and blood was used in Kenya to determine areas where there was selenium deficiencies as well as selenium abundance. The researchers collected over 1,000 blood samples from goats, 180 forage samples, and 90 soil samples to examine for selenium levels. Selenium concentrations tended to fluctuate based on season. With wet season being lower and dry season being higher in selenium, according to Mibura. During the wet season, 15% of the goats had marginal to deficient blood selenium concentrations, while during the dry season, only 12% of the goats had minimal to deficient blood selenium concentrations, according to Mibura. The results. Therefore, in the dry season, goats are less likely to have selenium deficiencies, which could be due to temperature. The higher the temperature, the higher selenium levels increase in the soil. White muscle disease. White muscle disease is a degenerative muscle disease found in goats that is caused due to an insufficient amount of selenium in their diet. The disease can affect both skeletal and cardiac muscles. When skeletal muscles are affected, symptoms vary from mild stiffness to obvious pain upon walking to the inability to stand. So, selenium deficiency can lead to white muscle disease in goat heads. And here is an example of a picture of a goat head who obviously has white muscle disease and his back legs are hurting. So a study was conducted and the soil in which the crops grow that are consumed by goats was tested to determine if they were obtaining the adequate amount of selenium needed to be in the healthy range. Results: soil containing less than 0.6 milligrams of selenium per kilogram led to selenium deficiencies in goat kids. Infertility due to selenium deficiency. According to McComb, selenium deficiency can cause infertility. Goats from New York were analyzed due to their tendency to have selenium deficiencies because of the pasture, soil, and harvested crops that are deficient in selenium in New York. Healthy goats from various ages were tested to determine what their blood selenium concentration was to determine the selenium supplementation needed for the unhealthier goats. Results: the older goats had a higher blood selenium concentration than that of the juvenile and the neonatal goats. The health of the newer goats would have been at risk without the adequate supplemented diet, but thankfully, to the study, they were not. Selenium supplementation. Selenium deficiency is more common in ruminants than it is in non-ruminants. Supplementation with inorganic selenium hinders ruminants because the selenium is not efficiently absorbed in the rumen, causing the ruminant to have growth impairments. Therefore, organic selenium is preferred over inorganic selenium supplementation in ruminants. An study was conducted and 10 goats were tested to see if selenium yeast supplementation would increase selenium absorption in the parts of the small intestine. The selenium yeast supplementation was made by fermenting yeast in a selenium-rich media to acquire an organic source of selenium food form. So 10 goats were tested and the results were that dietary selenium yeast supplementation in the diet improves the morphological characteristics of the villi in the duodenum and jejunum of goats. Costly supplementation. Small-scale farmers in the Philippines avoid buying selenium bolus or concentrate that are both known to increase minerals in goats due to their inability to afford either of them, according to Havasita. This led these small-scale farmers to find an alternative, affordable supplementation in order to feed microminerals to their goats. They found that tree legumes were the alternative, and the most popular tree was the Leucophina leucocephala. It was preferred because it has high amounts of selenium, according to another study by Havasita. However, not much is known about the continuous effects the Leucophina leucocephala tree has on selenium concentration in goats. Leucophina leucocephala leaf supplementation on selenium was tested with a growing group of Philippine goats. In this study, 12 goats were tested. 6 of the goats were control goats, and the other 6 obtained a supplemented diet with the Leucophina leucocephala. So every 14 days, the goats were measured by their body weight, their blood, and the forage that they were consuming. Results. The results concluded that the body weight and blood selenium concentrations of the growing Philippine goats in the Leucophina leucocephala supplemented group had a higher body weight and a higher selenium concentration than that of the control goats. So the study showed that the LL supplementation, the Leucophina leucocephala leaf, is an inexpensive selenium supplementation alternative that can help more farmers that are poor and aren't unable to afford the very expensive selenium supplementation bolus or the selenium supplementation concentrate. Conclusion. Selenium deficiency in goats is a growing problem because goats are not receiving the adequate amount of selenium in their diet to enhance their performance growth. However, it is a problem that can be solved with the proper knowledge. According to McComb, studies have concluded that the correct amount of selenium supplementation is needed in order to increase the productivity of selenium deficit goats. Also, organic selenium supplementation is preferred in ruminants because it improves absorption of the small intestine. Cheaper alternatives of selenium supplementation for goats could decrease selenium deficiency enormously for poor farmers. Awareness of the effects of selenium deficiency in goats can also strongly improve the goat industry. So, like I mentioned before in my presentation, high temperatures in dry season also decreases the likelihood of goats having selenium deficiencies. A selenium deficit can lead to infertility, loss of body weight, and white muscle disease. Goats are not receiving the adequate amount of selenium in their diet, and therefore selenium supplementation is needed. It is needed to help these goats that are having these diseases, this loss of body weight, infertility. However, it is very, very expensive, and farmers in the Philippines are less fortunate and more poor, and they have discovered an inexpensive selenium supplementation that thankfully helps them save their money and will allow them to have a better chance of having healthier goats. Okay, so here's my references. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you guys for listening, and that's it.